You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Life advice. Before I do that, new show, documentary, 4 parts, I think. I probably shouldn't do this until I've watched the entire thing because I don't know how it's going to end. But the line about this Navy SEAL team, it's on Apple TV. It's unbelievable. I don't know how many of you watched Restrepo or read War by the author Sebastian Junger, who did Perfect Storm. War was one of the best war books I've ever read, so immediately wanted to watch Restrepo. That was like as real a documentary, at least on, those guys were in the mountain ranges of Afghanistan. I mean, look, you don't need to be told, hey, that would suck to be part of that deployment. Like, yeah, the gear is cool, and I want to be a tough guy. I think a lot of men, you grow up, you kind of think like, oh, wonder what that would be like, maybe some don't, I'm sure plenty are like, fuck that. I would want nothing to do with that. I don't know. I think there's always been a part of me that would be like, wonder what that would be like. Well, how would you like, yeah, I guess I'll just admit it. I'll ask myself, like, how would you handle that in the moment? Like, would you be losing your shit or would you be steady? Would you figure out a way to get through it? I have no idea. I think there are times you would almost want to know. And then you watch those and be like, no, I'm good. Like, I don't want to know the answer because it's awful. And watching this thing about the SEAL team in Afghanistan and the SEAL team leader in this whole thing, I'm 2 parts into it. So full endorsement of that show on Apple TV if you have Apple TV. We do have a 20-year debate going on in my friend group of what would you rather do, be in jail or be at war? And I mean, I would much rather be at war. There's a few guys that pick jail, though, and I'm like, you guys are out of your minds. But
I mean, I think the answer is definitely jail. What, you get meals, like you get your own bed and cot. It's nice and cozy. I mean, you're probably bored out of your mind. Yeah, it's somewhat dangerous, but it's not dangerous.
You think you get a little bored in jail? You think?
I mean, but like, I'd rather be bored than like dodging bullets in Afghanistan.
For me, it's not even. There's no way. There's no fucking.
You need
way.
to be stimulated. Yeah, all right.
I'd be like, no. I'm just like, I don't care.
Here's the thing: are you trained? Like, do you know what you're doing at war, or is it you at war that like, hey, here's a AR, figure it out?
I'll
blend in jail.
This debate has gone on for so long because the guys that pick war can't believe the guys that pick jail, and the guys that pick jail can't believe the guys that pick war. So, I think there's a moderate understanding that you would be trained.
Okay.
Yeah. Kyle, you're a war guy, right? Over jail?
I wanted to be an MP guarding some sort of stuff in Spain where nothing was ever going to pop off. That was in high school. That's what I wanted to do. But
what was the inspiration for that rewarding?
It just seemed like
lifestyle?
nothing was ever going to pop off. It seemed like, well, there's only so many ways to get a pension. I want to, be enjoying my life by the time I'm, cresting into my 50s. So it'd be nice to just be taken care of if I could just put in, 20 years fresh out of high school. That would have been kind of a dream. But I ended up not doing that.
Okay, we got a couple things going on here. One is that's so not you though. Like, you're not a narc, and then you were gonna.
Well, not a cop. Like, an MP is like, I understood it was like a guy who like guards something. Like, you're not necessarily looking for drugs or something. You're just kind of maybe guarding some shipping containers in a Spanish dock or somewhere in Hawaii. I don't know. That's what I thought. It was like, I don't know. My recruiter was very zealous and overzealous and told me he was going to show me the world like Aladdin or something. But I ended up not doing it, so it's fine.
So you went through the recruiting process to potentially be an MP at docks in Hawaii or Spain?
In my head, that's what I was going to do. Yeah. Well, I took the test and they were like, yeah, man, you could do anything. I was like, okay. I feel like you probably tell a lot of people that. But the ASVAB or whatever, it was like, it said it worked out really well. It was like, yeah, you can you're qualified for anything.
Like,
okay.
You have unlimited potential, Kyle.
It's like, I got a 75 in math. There's no way I'm qualified for everything, but thanks.
Guys, like, do you want to be a tech, a sniper, or a dock guy? You're like, Dock guy. All right.
Where's the boats, dude?
So what's going on with this filter? You have a mask that's a fake mask on your Zoom filter, and it's
Well, I like to test them out. I like to test a different thing, but guess who's got COVID? Probably me. Still haven't gotten my thing back, but about 3 days ago I took a test, but I've been feeling like shit. My girlfriend tested positive, so I mean, one would surmise I have COVID.
okay. Can we stop testing it because it's driving me crazy? This filter.
What do you mean?
I kind of love it.
Actually, no. I think it's gonna have to stay now.
Okay. All right. I got overruled. That's fair.
The next life advice, you'll get a different one.
I hate looking at it. And so we're going to have to, Cerruti, can you take a picture of this at some point and just say this is what Kyle brought to the table on a Friday? I don't like it, but I have some dictator tendencies on the podcast. This will not be a time.
I'm gonna start adjusting it. I'm gonna start fake adjusting it.
The thing is we have one life advice that's so good, and I can't wait to have Kyle chime in on it, that I almost want to see the full Kyle, but that's fine. That's fine. This is your call. It's your filter, your rules.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. First one is, I don't know. Maybe you guys can help me out with this one. Okay. 6'2", 195 can play a mean ukulele. That's probably a fun instrument to be able to it's getting late. Like, hey, break out your ukulele. All right. Girlfriend and I started serious conversations about moving in together this year. I need some advice on how much would be fair to charge her for rent. Uh-oh. Background. It's just like, what's the debate? It's 50-50. Sometimes a little more complicated than that, as our man explains. I own a 3-bedroom house in a large city, can currently cover the $2,600 a month mortgage comfortably with my budget. She currently lives in a 1-bedroom apartment about 15 minutes away, and her rent is in the $1,500, $2,000 a month range. We both make about the same salary, so no personal finance discrepancies they're not really an issue. Obviously, utilities and such would be split 50-50. Okay, so utilities 50-50, but that would only come out to her chipping in a couple $100. A complete 50-50 split on the mortgage feels like too much, since her portion is ultimately getting invested back into my house's equity, but I also don't want to get totally taken advantage of by asking for peanuts. I keep coming back to an easy all-in flat rate of $1,000 a month because we both see decent monthly housing expense relief at that amount. Okay. But that still feels steep at $1,000. Maybe those feelings are just from being a product of Midwestern parents. Oh, look at this. What would you do? I'm sure plenty of folks are going through the same scenario. So general cohabitation financial advice is greatly appreciated. Would love to hear Cerruti and Kyle's take as well. Y'all are the best. I love the Midwestern values here thing, because I think what we're talking about here is a guy who's a bit old fashioned and feels like if he's going to be the man in the relationship, he has the home, he's providing shelter, and that it's not a stretch for him to cover the $2,600 that he's already done on his own, that he would like to provide for a person that he cares about a lot. I am probably still a little old-fashioned in those ways, despite never having to have this conversation with anybody. I've thought it out in my head, and certainly how you are doing financially as the provider. And again, this could be flipped if the female provider has the house and she's doing better than the guy she cares about and sees a future and a family together. And you just start to adapt and make some concessions that should be not influenced on like, am I getting fucked on the rent? Oh, it's just 60-40 split's actually bullshit. Like if you want to marry somebody and have kids with them, you're really going to let 60-40 ruin your day? Now, some people listening to this will say, absolutely, that's bullshit. Maybe some others are listening to this, our older listeners. We do have older listeners that are going, nah, man, like if that's going to be your wife, she's going to be having kids, which is, I think, where you're hinting at this going, then you should provide for her. I like where your head's at. I don't think you need any advice from us whatsoever. You don't want to charge her that much, but you want to charge her something. A lot of it comes down to how will you presenting this impact the relationship? Because I would say others, there'll be some women that you'd be dating that would be like, this is great, no problem. I want to feel like I'm kicking in towards the house's equity that's going to become our house. And there'd be some women that are like, you're lucky you're getting 50-50 on the utilities. It's your house. I'm moving in. We'll see how it goes, while they're pocketing all their savings. It really depends on the other person and how they see this. I think your head is in the right place. I would bring it up. And if you feel like there's no pushback to $1,000, you could just say, hey, look, you want to do $1,000 until we figure out taking the next step. And if she's totally cool with it, you don't feel like there's any tension and she's not lying to you, then go ahead and do it. If you want to charge her less because it makes you feel better, because you know that she's going to be really important to you, then go ahead and do that. But really, it's going to come down to like, where you think that comfort zone is for her feeling like you're actually in agreement and you're not just saying out loud what sounds like an agreement, which will lead to like, if she says yes to a deal she doesn't like, she's telling her friends, and then 6 months later, all this animosity is building up where it's turning into like, yeah, the fucking guy's charging me $1,000 on top of everything else. You know, it's not like we're not going to get married. Now, there is a different situation where it's just somebody you're living with and you're not sure if you're going to get married. I think the rules are different there, but I think your heart and your head are in the right place. And it sounds like you're probably even going to go under $1,000 because of whatever guilt that you have as a Midwestern salt of the earth type of guy. And that's really up to you. But I don't really think you need our advice. I think you mapped it out pretty well. Kyle, I feel like you're going to go in another direction on this one.
No, I'm not. I think you're right. Yet 1,000 is a good square number. Now that I understand the situation, you're not splitting a rent for nothing, for something you won't own. And when it's all done, you know, people paid X amount of dollars and you move on. Like this, I get this. This makes sense. But $1,000 is a good square number. She's getting a break on what she had before. And honestly, if she has a problem with that, honestly, she's a bit unreasonable. And it's good that you're doing this test drive before you move to the next step. So I think that's great. I think she's saving money. She's going to be living in a house that, you know, maybe she'll have some input on stuff, like not necessarily that she's going to start painting walls and changing cabinets and shit, but I'm just saying, like, maybe she'll feel like she has a little bit of, you know, she feel like she can try to improve it with you, and maybe, you know, that it's just the $1,000 would be well spent for her if she thinks this is going to work out, and also it's saving her money, and especially if you're making kind of the same amount of money, it'd be weird if you were taking a large portion of your income and she was taking none of it to put towards living situation. I think 1,000 is a great number, and I wouldn't do anything else. If that works, then just stop there. No need to think about it. It's a great job.
Yeah, I think if she doesn't want to contribute, that's a bit of a red flag for you. So, and I think, like you said, $1,000 is a good number, and you know she should probably know too. And I don't know how you necessarily broach this with her, but like, you know, she's gonna eventually get that money back if you guys get engaged and married. It's not like she's throwing that money to rent. Like she's giving that money to you, which is then building you guys equity. So I don't know how exactly you have that conversation with her, because that is like the logical person to me, saying you're not actually losing money here. In the long term, you're actually probably just giving the money to me, which is then your money in our same bank account. So I don't know the eloquent way to have that conversation, but that would be the logic.
Yeah, I mean, he does say, hey, it's a girlfriend. We're having this serious moving conversation. We'll see where this goes. So maybe, you know, everything that I'm talking about, marriage and kids and the future down the road, maybe that's not even there yet. I would think it is, if you're taking this step, that it's a possible option and an option that you probably both hope that happens. But I would not be a hard liner on this one ever. You know, even if I weren't doing that well, I don't know. I just think there are certain times, and again, I feel like I'm a little bit more old fashioned, where it's like, if I'm going to be making more money and bringing money back, and I already have a place that I live in, and I care about you and I want you to be in my life, then I'm not going to get fucking worked up about a split. I actually think that's where people lose their minds about stuff. I'm sure there are people listening to us right now going, no way, no, it's an understanding, it's agreement, doesn't mean anything's going to work out. So why are you going to get taken? I'm not saying get taken here. I'm saying just come up with something where you feel like you're actually out loud being honest with each other about the arrangement, and a couple $100 swing here and there. I mean, who gives a shit? We're talking about a potential life partner here, and making sure that that part of the relationship is more secure than you wondering if you're losing a couple $100 every month. I mean, I don't know. I remember I had a roommate situation where a guy let me sublet in. You know, I was pretty desperate for a living situation at that point. This is kind of part whatever of all the shit that I talked about in the past. But his girlfriend basically lived in the house with us. And then one of my friends was like, hey, are you doing the rent 3 ways? Are you doing the utility? And I was just like, no. I was like, whatever, dude. You know, like, she's cool. We all get along. They help me move in. Like, and again, maybe I'm a pushover for that, some of that stuff, but I've also lived with other people that are insane about utilities and splits and to the dollar and the phone bill. And did you do this one and all this different stuff? And you look back on it, you go, it's a lot of stress that didn't mean anything. It just didn't mean anything. And a couple bucks here or there over the course of your life, you know, my goal is to not, in every one of those negotiations in my entire life, to be up big. Like, you know what, I didn't
Win
throw
the
in
deal.
for this. Yeah. I didn't throw in for this bottle service. And there was a time where I won 2 credit card roulettes here. And there was also another time where I got a better hotel room, but we all paid even. So I was up there. Like, honestly, guys like that in your friend group, and they exist. I've got a couple. Just like, who the fuck's keeping who? When is this game over? Like, when do you win it?
Imagine your friend group, like, you're talking about it and you're like, yeah, she wanted to pay 800, but I was really hard about 1,000. She's paying me $1,000 a month. Like, what's the response? Like, cool, dude. Like, congrats. That's awesome, man. $200 a month for your girlfriend.
I think we've handled that one. What did you do with Maddie, Cerruti? Did you guys, how long did you guys live together before you were engaged?
Well, so we lived in an apartment for a couple years before we got engaged, and then we bought a house before we got engaged. But I mean, we kind of knew where it was going. And then I proposed when we closed on the house. So we were actually never, in the house, not engaged, but we went into the process not being engaged, and it was really never a conversation. We were just like, we're just going to split it 50-50, and that's what we did.
Was there any pushback on like, we can't live together until we're engaged? You weren't doing that kind of stuff, right?
No,
sort of
no,
happened,
no,
right?
no. My dad is a hard, like, you should live with someone before you're willing to commit to them for the rest of your life, which is the best advice you can give to anybody. I don't honestly, I mean, I know there are different things that people and values and whatnot, but it's just the most no-brainer thing to me. Like, how would you?
It's the most no-brainer. It's seriously one of the most no-brainer things ever. I can't believe that people do it. I dated somebody.
What value would that be that prevented you from doing that? Like, what value would you have to be Amish? Like,
well, I grew up like, going to Catholic mass, right? And there was, I don't know, that was back in like the 90s, right? There was like some frowning upon that, but I feel like that quickly changed in the last like decade.
Yeah, you weren't supposed to Google boobs according to them either. Yeah. But I mean, who didn't do that?
God's been Googling boob.
On the family computer, and then freaking out because I never taught myself how to clear the Google search bar. So if you typed in B, it was a problem. I figured it out eventually.
Good for you. Do you live with a lot of women, Kyle?
Well, I live with a single mom. Are we talking like romantically or what?
Actually, now I just want to know about you living with a single mom, because you're going to be fucking kidding me.
No, my mom was single, I mean.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
That one makes way more sense.
I mean, I can understand how many life advices we've gone down weird roads, so I can understand why you thought that. But no, the woman I live with now is the only one I've ever actually moved in with. So
nice.
So far going well, but there's women in my life, Ryan. What do you want me to say?
That's like, what is it? Is it Grandpa's Boy, or what's that?
Grandma's Boy?
Grandma's Boy. Grandma's Boy. Yeah. When it's Swartzen, right? And he's like, oh, you guys mean like you guys should come back, my roommates. They're like your grandmother.
Correct.
Like they're not your like, oh, sorry. That's such a great line in his.
Let me check with my roommates first.
Yeah, let me just check with my roommates first, dude. He's Nick Swartzen's delivering a line, and almost anything's a win. Whenever he, it's like, okay. Actually, we were DMing at one point. I think we were trying to get him on. Obviously, that didn't work out. Big Timberwolves fan, from what I remember. I'm a little upset with Kilborn. He's been to like 3 Timberwolves games here at what used to be known as the Staples Center. And I don't know, but I think he's sitting courtside. See, those are not invites. You don't get those invites, the courtside invites. But we'll plant the seed in his head. Next time Timberwolves are in town, if that's even going to happen. All right, I have one here. I'm not going to read any other ones because let's end Friday in a note here where this one's just ridiculous. Buckle up, folks. 5'7", 190. Not fat, but not yoked either. My parents are both from Greece, so I like to think I'm built like a bulky Mike Tolbert-esque Greek statue.
It's just like thick European
Mike
dudes.
Tolbert.
Nice.
Yeah. Like, who that guy's torso looks like? Mike Tolbert's. To give you some background, I'm a senior in college where I once played a sport but hung up the cleats. I make good grades. In fact, parentheses, not to sound like a douche, I have a job in investment banking lined up after graduation.
Nice.
Hey, time out real quick. If you have an awesome job lined up in investment banking and you want to do it and you're like apologizing that there's a chance you're going to make insane money in 10 years, if it works out, don't apologize for that. All right? The way we look at success now and criticize it is very weird. And so I would say to everybody listening, if you have a good setup, and again, it's not a guarantee that's going to work out here, but if you want to be an investment banker because it could be fucking awesome for you financially and you want that life, go for it. Good for you. Don't apologize about it. Okay. He also likes to just do normal college stuff, hang out, watch sports, drink beers. Anyway, I began dating this girl at school about a year and a half ago. I remember the second I laid eyes on her as a freshman, I knew she was the one. I hope this guy doesn't get busted for this, or at least that way we'll know it's real. After a couple of years of putting in work, this guy put in some effort. I finally began dating her. For the most part, things have been great. She's everything I want in a girl: cool, funny, athletic, and beautiful. Sometimes she can be a bit bossy, and my boys like to give me shit by saying she wears the pants or calling me a simp or whatever, but I don't really mind because I really care about her. I got to say, first read through on this one, the Greek part saved me from even reading it. All right, here we go, because it was so specific. However, we recently have gotten into a disagreement stemming from things in the bedroom. Started after the night of a party. We went back to my house. It was late. My 4 housemates were all home. So that means we're living we get a domicile, 5 dudes, 4 roommates. You and your lady come back home after a big night out. Me and my girlfriend came home and had sex in my room. The next morning she left and things were fine until my housemates started giving me a hard time, saying they could hear her repeated spanking noises from my room. Kyle liked that one. Apparently that wasn't the first time they heard it either. To make matters worse, one of my housemates' girlfriends was also over that night, and she heard it too. A few days go by. Next thing I know, all these girls in my friend circle get word of the spanking noises from my room, and it gets back to my girlfriend. Obviously, my girlfriend is super embarrassed and upset, but she is most upset with me and not my housemate's girlfriend, who told everyone. The problem is the spanking noises did come from us, but it was not her on the receiving end. Look, I know this sounds super suspect. It does, because it's so well written, but maybe you're going to be a great investment banker because you get your point across. I know it sounds super suspect. I've been with other girls and nobody's ever done this besides her. He did say she was bossy.
Right.
And it's not like she does this every time. It's just when we're drinking. At first, I thought it was a little weird, but harmless and not very aggressive, so I didn't say anything. Over time, I suppose it has escalated a bit, not to a crazy, painful level or anything, but but since it only happens when I'm drunk, I guess I just don't really care. Besides, she's my girlfriend, and I really like her, so I want to make her happy. All caps. However, now she is saying I have until the end of the month to tell my housemates it was not her who got spanked.
Or what? Or what? I'd call you on that.
This is where I'm like, I don't know. It's I almost didn't read it, not because of the content, because of just like how well it's crafted. But you know what? A lot of things checked out. I did a little research, so I think it's real. I know
this isn't any movie that I've heard of, so I think we're good on that thing.
Season 9 of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, right? I know this is something my friends will never let go. Yep, they're not gonna. Plus, I'm worried about everyone else will hear about it too. I try to explain to her this is way more embarrassing for me than it would be for her, but she says that's just my toxic masculinity speaking.
Oh, come on.
Oh,
I see
man.
what you mean now. I see what you mean.
And I really liked her. And if I really, okay, so she said that's just my toxic masculinity speaking. And if I really liked her, I would defend her by telling the truth. She's been super cold to me recently. Has barely talked to me the last few days. We rarely fight, and I've never seen her this mad. What should I do? Is there any way I can make things right with her without having to embarrass myself? Or am I going to have to swallow my pride and come clean? Okay. I was with you trying to find a resolution until she said, if this is true, all right, if she thinks that you telling your buddies, hey, I am actually the guy getting spanked in there that you all heard, and every time you hear it, it's me getting spanked, and you don't feel like dealing with it as a college kid, that's one of the most understandable things ever, and that's not toxic masculinity. So the fact that she would, again, if this actually happened, if she countered your argument like, hey, it sucks way more for me than it would for you, so we just let this thing go, and she says, no, it's your toxic masculinity, I would break up on the fucking spot right there. I don't care how long you, obviously this is something that's very Tupac above the rim for you. That's cool and all. Appreciate your effort for 2 years, which probably could, no offense, call you a simp for that alone. You said she was bossy. Your friends like she kind of wears the pants. And so I would, at this stage of my life, you know, you get a little bit older, you give less of a shit around you. It's not like you know, think it's just a certain age. You probably don't have 4 dude roommates. Then you might just say, yeah, man, what's up? That's my deal. What's up now? But at this stage, if you don't feel comfortable, like, if we really want to get into like the deep end of this, the fact that it's your toxic masculinity, but if she cares about you, she couldn't actually see it your way and understand that this is how you're reacting and your feelings are thus, and therefore she can't like understand and accept those things. And it's just about you being a man that doesn't want to admit he's been spanked by his girlfriend at their house with 4 other dude college guys. If she can't understand that, I wouldn't date her. That's probably not what you're going to do because you've been in love with this girl for so long. But I would say this: who would ever want to be in a relationship, except for psychopaths, where you would never want the other person to ever push back on anything, right? Like, I wouldn't want to date somebody. Like, I know I'm going to kind of do things my way, right? I think that's pretty evident at this point in my life. But I wouldn't, like, if I cared about somebody and they were in it for the long haul, you also need that person to kind of call you on your stuff a little bit. There needs to be some pushback. There needs to be some fight back. And if she's constantly running this and you're never allowed to have any pushback whatsoever, that's not very healthy for you. And it kind of makes her look weird. So look, I'm on your side. I would tell her straight up, hey, this is going to end the relationship if you're telling me that it's my toxic masculinity that is the reason why as a college kid, like, I don't feel like dealing with this. Now, you could just sit back and say, I got one more semester, but yeah, you're going to be, I don't know. I mean, it's not the worst thing to ever have said about a dude. So I wouldn't worry about that all that much. But I don't know. I don't think, I don't know. I don't even know how this could be one of those things where generationally, as I'm saying this stuff out loud, people are like, oh no, in 2022, Russillo, you have to absolutely own this. And I would just be like, okay, well then I'm psyched I'm not in college right now, because there's no way college me at 21 would be like
stepping up to the plate.
Yeah.
For
like,
this.
yeah.
Come
like,
on.
hey, I know you like doing that to me. That's fine, because it's behind, it's our little deal. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, whatever. Although now that I think about it, there's a bunch of guys I know that would have been like, yeah, I don't care. Fuck it. Yeah, I get spanked up. She likes to spank me. What's up? I don't know. Go ahead, Kyle. Take it.
I mean, I started out initially thinking that of like, but you just shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to be like, hey, just wanted to clear something up. I'm the one who's on the receiving end of the spanks. So as long as we're good, if you can just go tell everybody you know so we can get this cleared up, that's great.
Spread the word.
Yeah. My advice is operating from you're going to do nothing. So my advice isn't like, what should you do? I'm saying, well, how should you navigate doing nothing about this is all I'm saying. Is because, I don't think anybody really, most people don't end up with anybody from school, whether that be college or high school. I guess college has probably a higher success rate. But like, you're about to be an investment banker, dude. See where that life takes you. You already know what ticket you have for this ride. It's obviously not going to be great. I mean, and the other thing is, if she can't understand that when you step into a 5-person college house, like, you should be happy if that's the only thing that happens to you. Like, honestly, anything goes. Like, your stuff gets broken, just stuff happens. So like, the fact that like this is out of your control and she wants you just kind of have to charge it to the game at this point. If she doesn't understand that, it sounds like she's a senior. She should have been around a few college houses to know that like, you're not safe there. It's definitely not one of the safer places. So I don't know. I just think you should you said you like to drink beer and talk sports and hang out. And I think you should continue to do that, run out her clock and see what the fuck happens. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be an investment banker. You're almost done with school. And it sounds like, you're stressed out about this and you're never going to get these years back. And I don't think you should have to cap it off by, telling everyone you get spanked so somebody else feels better. That's weird. So yeah, just continue.
Charge it to the game is what Kyle said.
Yeah. Just keep doing you. Keep doing you.
It's not about admitting, it's not about the kink shaming or admitting that you're the one being spanked. To me, it's about what else is she going to ask you to take the fall for later in life? Like this is like the first step of something that could be like problematic in the rest of your relationship. Like, is she going to ask you to like take the blame for like car accidents in the future or like random shit at work? Like, who knows? And you don't want to be dealing with that stuff, especially as Kyle said, if you're like this young budding investment banker who has his whole future ahead of him.
But we don't know that. It could also not work out too.
It could all come crashing down.
You're right. But But at least he's got a leg up on some other people coming out of college. So there you go. He's got something going for him. And yeah, because I mean, we used to have a grunter. I remember in our room in our it wasn't 5, it was 4 guys, and like you get some shit for it, but like I didn't like really care that much about it. Like we made fun of the guy just because it was fun to make fun of him, but other than that, like it didn't actually matter long term. So admitting that you're the guy getting spanked isn't that big of a deal. I'm just more worried about what she's going to ask you to do in the future if you continue with this relationship.
Yeah, what if she like
this.
embarrassingly pukes at a party in her 30s and she's like, go tell everyone you just puked outside and go clean. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Do it now.
Like at some
point,
I
feel like my mind has changed a little bit on this, and I think Cerruti made the best point about like, dude, does it mean I have to take a bullet for everything forever? Like if we're actually going to have it, and granted, it's a college relationship, the chances of this carrying over into your real world life is probably pretty slim anyway. Although certain schools are different. Some schools, like people actually do meet their spouses there. Our school, we were told when we checked in, like the marriage rate out of Vermont was like the lowest of any national. It was unbelievable how low it was. It was pretty funny. And so, as I've thought more about it, like if it happened in my house, it's not that big of a deal. Like we would have been, I mean, look, there's weirder stuff that happened where you'd be like, what happened? You'd be like, that's weird. And then the next weird thing happens that cancels out the previously weird thing. So it doesn't really matter. I think it's more about there's some root causes here of the relationship that are alarming. That's beyond just, hey, you have to admit that you got spanked. It's that there's this disconnect on like, hey, is it okay? Like, I don't want to deal with this. This is how I feel about it. Can we just let this thing go? No, I'm demanding that you admit that it's you for all these other reasons. Like this is really about an argument. It's not even about the spanking part of it. Because honestly, the more I think about it, usually I'm pretty good at having like a sensibility of going back in time 20 plus years. The more I think about it, like if this, let's just say it happened to me, like I'd probably be like, all right, whatever. Yeah. Like whatever, dude. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Maybe I wouldn't love it. That
it would suck for like a week and then like, I don't know, people get over it. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. And honestly, like I said, if depending on what your friend group is like with us, that would have been Thursday. And then there'd be next Thursday. And no one would even care. And by the way, if the investment banking thing goes really well, you're going to be in your 30s paying for somebody to spank you. Signing up for that lifestyle. So, maybe she's doing you a favor. A lot of ways to look at that one.
I agree. Let me just say one thing. I think this is a good opportunity to test what happens if she doesn't get her way. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is if you're thinking about going on to the next phase of your life, it's a good idea to the stakes are still relatively low. It's a good idea to just, what are you going to do if I don't? That's what. And you don't have to say it that way. Just see what happens if you're being, yourself completely pleasant, perfectly pleasant, and just not doing this thing that she's commanding you to do. Just see what happens.
Yeah, there's
Then
no
you'll know.
lose here because either like some girls like guys that they can control, and I don't think you want to be that guy. So then you'd figure that out, or you're going to be like, hey, I'm not doing this, and she's going to be like kind of turned on by that, and that might actually help your relationship. So either way, I think you're all right.
Yeah, I have no idea how any of this is going to go.
I wonder if his friends
follow
like her.
up.
I wonder like what her approval rating is amongst the people in the
low.
Because I feel like it would be. Yeah, I feel like it's not great.
Gotta be.
There's no way it's high. There's no way. Bossing your buddy around, spanking him all the time.
Please follow up, dude.
I would
Please
love
follow
to
up.
know how anyone would describe this episode to somebody. Be like, hey, what podcast did you? What are you into lately? Be like, oh, this Russillo guy. Like, oh, the ESPN dude. He's okay. Wasn't great. I'm like, yeah, no. He had this episode the other day. He did the thing about like championship droughts, point guards, did his college football picks, and they spent 20 minutes talking about a college kid getting spanked by his girlfriend. I'm like, oh, well, hit that subscribe button. All right. Thanks to Kyle and Steve. Ringer Spotify. Please subscribe. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you Monday.